Well, folks, it looks like the Democrats are in full CYA mode. Now, I try not to get too political on the channel, and I apologize that I haven't been able to post anything today till late, and that's because I had a meeting at work this morning. But the Democrats, this January 6th committee, has decided to postpone tomorrow's hearing, Wednesday's hearing. And I think I know why. Because there's a little covered article at Breitbart. Don't know if you've seen this or not. It appears that Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson can't agree on exactly what this hearing is all about. It says here, show trial, mistrial. January 6th chair says no criminal referral of Trump. After all, Liz Cheney disagrees. So I'll just read you the first paragraph. Representative Benny Thompson, Democrat, Mississippi, who talked about slavery in his opening statement on the first day of the January 6th hearing about the insurrection. He's a victim, don't you know? Chair of the January 6th committee said Monday evening that there would be no criminal referrals of former President Donald Trump or anyone else to the Department of Justice, the DOJ. And Representative Liz Cheney, Republican Wyoming, promptly disagreed in public. Why I thought the whole purpose of this hearing was to indict Trump somehow, some way. Find him guilty of insurrection or engaging in instructing his followers to, his supporters to engage in insurrection. So go check out this story at Breitbart. But if we go to CNN, January 6th committee postpones Wednesday hearing. And they've got a photo here of Trump on a big screen. Let's see who the story is by Annie Grayer. And this came out today, the 14th. Happy Flag Day, by the way. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol has postponed its hearing scheduled for Wednesday. The next hearing is scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Democrat Representative Zoe Lofgren of California, member of the committee, told reporters that the reason for the rescheduling was due to, quote-unquote, technical issues, and, quote, not a big deal. Well, I thought they had all this video ready to go, all this evidence. But isn't it what we've seen before? Or just a different angle of what we've seen before? Quote, it's just technical issues, she said. You know, that staff put together all the videos, doing 1, 2, 3. It was overwhelming. So we're trying to give them a little room. Give them a little room. No, what you're trying to do is come up with new material because this didn't go over well with the public. You couldn't sell it. You couldn't move the product. Lofgren said Wednesday's hearing topic, which was focused on the Department of Justice, will get moved to another day, and Thursday will still focus on then President Donald Trump's effort to pressure then Vice President Mike Pence, where has he been, to refuse to certify the election results. The committee has been laying out its case for what it says is Trump's responsibility for the insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection. It was people that wanted to go to the Capitol building, U.S. Capitol building, and party. It got out of hand. And where it was security, nowhere to be found, that's for sure. The committee has been laying out its case for what it says is Trump's responsibility. I just read that. Okay, so let's get moving on. Doing this in one take again, guys, so bear with me. Monday's hearing, the second of a series, probably featured lengthy portions of former Attorney General William Barr's deposition with the committee, where he said it was all BS, which would have been thrown out in court immediately. deposition. No, he was told what to say, where he described in detail why Trump's fraud claims were quote-unquote bogus and why he had been or has not seen anything to convince him that there was fraud. Well, don't you think, Mr. Barr, it would have been a good idea to actually investigate this? I mean, really investigate this? Now, if you go to Fox News, January 6th committee postpones Wednesday hearing without explanation. Article by Anders Hagstrom. This also came out today. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol postponed its Wednesday hearing and will instead hold its third public hearing on Thursday. The committee has yet to release an explanation for the Tuesday announcement. The committee held a primetime hearing last week following a hearing on Monday. The January 6th committee is tasked with investigating the circumstances leading up to and during the pro-Trump storming of the U.S. Capitol. So why are we talking about what actually happened on January 6th? Why are we talking about election fraud? Because that's what they're doing. They opened this hearing talking about what happened during the 2020 election. Oh, they had maybe a witness or two saying what their experience was on January 6th, but they really didn't get into detail, really didn't get into the meat of what happened on January 6th. Get to the bottom of it. Because they're trying to lay out this case that Trump was so frustrated, so convinced, so mad at the results of the election, believing that he won, that he instructed his followers, him being the Pied Piper, he instructed his supporters to storm the U.S. Capitol building, to fight like hell, even though Democrats have been saying for months they're going to fight like hell. And we still haven't gotten to the bottom of what happened with the BLM riots. 100,000 pages for this crap for January 6th. 100,000 pages. And I can guarantee you, if I went through it, none of it would make any sense. Thank you, the U.S. federal government. Now, where was I in the article here? Hold it, it's third public hearing Thursday. The January 6th committee is tasked with investigating the circumstances leading up to and during the pro-Trump storm of the U.S. Capitol, as I mentioned, in early 2021. The committee's Monday hearing focused heavily on former President Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election results through litigation, which is the way that you do it, litigation. Wednesday's scheduled hearing was supposed to focus on Trump's attempts to use the Justice Department in his bid to reject results. They go a little more into detail here than CNN did. Now, testimony from former Trump administration and campaign officials indicates Trump was primarily swayed by former counsel Rudy Giuliani, who they accuse of being drunk during this time, in pushing to overturn the election. Former senior advisor Jason Miller testified that, quote, a definitely intoxicated, as I just mentioned, Giuliani spoke with Trump on election night. Was he intoxicated or did he have a glass of wine or two? Where's the video of this? Quote, the mayor was definitely intoxicated, but I do not know his level of intoxication when he spoke with the president, for example. Miller said in a videotaped testimony aired at the hearing. I think effectively Mayor Giuliani was saying, we want it. We're stealing it from us. They're stealing it from us. Where did all the votes come from? We need to go say that we won, and essentially that anyone who didn't agree with that position was being weak. Well, weren't the polls showing in the early hours that Trump was leading in a lot of these states, and all of these problems were happening in these states that had mail-in voting? These Democrat districts, and what was up with them putting cardboard on the windows at that polling station in Detroit? And why were people counting ballots after everybody had gone home in Atlanta? We saw the footage of it. Why were they having a ballot dump at 4:30 in the morning? And why was Fox News calling Arizona before all the ballots, all the votes had been in? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? I'll tell you what I think's going on here. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, all these cats in the media, everybody in Washington, D.C., they didn't want Trump having a second term because that means he would be giving more power back to the people. And they can't have that in D.C., you see. We can't have that because they're supposed to be in charge. Yet they work for us. We pay their salary. Maybe I should keep beating this drum. Nix D.C. We need t-shirts that say Nix D.C. States need to get back to, don't want to sound like a broken record here, but states need to get back to being sovereign and independent. We can have the same currency. We can share different traditions, trade with each other. But let's face it, California is not Florida, and Florida is not New York, and New York is not Texas, and Texas is not Alabama. The government has gotten too big for its britches. And so it thinks that they know what's best when it comes to the election cycle. Even though we're the ones who elect them to go to D.C. to represent us. Idiots, in my opinion. But they've got to have that power, man. They don't want to lose the next ticket to their precious steak and shrimp dinner. I mean, let's be honest. Now, former Attorney General Bill Barr dismissed Trump's claims of a stolen election outright, calling it BS in his testimony. Once again, that would have been thrown out in court. Barr had raised the alarm about potential election fraud prior to the 2020 election, but he found no evidence of widespread fraud in his investigations after the fact. No evidence of widespread fraud, but what about fraud in the narrow? If there were examples of fraud in, let's say, a couple of districts, investigate it and find out. Yeah, ballots turning up at 4:30 in the morning. Okay. That would be like us receiving a package at work and it shows up when I'm doing the overnight shift and nobody knows where it goes to or where it came from. No name, no address. At that point, we would be calling the cops because we have no idea what's in this package. As a precaution. For the safety of our staff, of our property, of our guest. Our guest, number one. That's what we would be doing. If we received a package with no name, don't know where it came from, in the middle of the night. Quote, I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen, putting out this stuff, which I told the president was, well, as I said, this is a conversation with Trump, and I didn't want to be a part of it, and that's one of the reasons that it went into me deciding to leave when I did. Quote, I was somewhat demoralized because I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff he's lost contact with, he's become detached from reality. Well, maybe he was seeing stuff, Mr. Barr, that you didn't. Did you bother asking him? Probably not. Because you thought you knew better. And on the other hand, when I went into this, and would now this is not making any sense. What he's saying here is not making any sense. I went into this and tell him how crazy some of these allegations were. There was never an indication of interest in what the actual facts were. Mr. Barr is supposed to be this highly intelligent individual, right? He has this high position, and he's talking like this. So this is what's going on with the January 6th hearing. Thought I'd come here and give you the latest. The hearing's been postponed till Thursday. But I really think this is all damage control, as I said in the beginning, CYA, because they have nothing. They're not going to find anything. You can't pin this on Trump, and we all know who actually was engaged in the insurrection. And it wasn't Trump supporters. It wasn't true blue Americans. It was all these activists that have been infiltrating Trump rallies. That's exactly who did this. And if you did, come out and say it and be proud. What are you ashamed of? They're not going to get you now on it. They can't. Because Biden's in office. Your guy won. But if we got rid of the presidency, nixed D.C., got rid of the Supreme Court, or brought it back to the state level at least, all this stuff back to the local level, I can guarantee you we would never see another January 6th. Hope you enjoyed the video. You know what to do if you liked the video. You can also catch me at Instagram, hashtag Jason Composes. Follow me at Twitter, Culture Confederacy at Twitter. This is the Culture Confederacy saying peace out. Stay safe, everybody. God bless this great country. I'll catch you next time, which should be Thursday when they resume this show trial hearing on January 6th. See you then.